United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects exist.
Anyway, I like how me saying, ow, my nipple hurts, and you're like, I should get my nipples pierced.
Yeah, well, I was assuming it was from your piercing.
Yeah.
Like a little bit.
Yeah. I had an encounter, and they were attacked, and now one of them hurts really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my shirt hit it the wrong way, and I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that feeling. I had an encounter 5 minutes ago with your dogs. They accosted me and I accosted back, and now your apartment is full of fur.
Yeah, I ran to go get a Sprite, and I left the door open for Chelsea. And as I'm coming up the stairs, I hear like, whoa, 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 which is Apollo's like play noise.
Oh man, we got hype. Cora goes hard. She'll you'll pet her and she'll kind of freeze, and then you stop and she'll go for the jugular. She gets upset with you.
Yeah, but she like can't bite, so it's really funny.
So it's like a full punch.
Yeah, it's like getting hit in the face.
It's like a big piece of ham.
It's like a meatball getting slapped in your face. Yeah, she doesn't fuck around, dude. If I sleep in on the weekends, she like attacks my head like a bowling ball.
Now look
horrible.
at her. She's exhausted.
I know. She had 5 seconds of a brief sprint, and now she's down for the count.
Same.
I mean, I do also feel that.
But Apollo played silently the whole time until literally 2 seconds before he walked in the door.
Yeah.
And you walk in looking crazy.
I know.
Scare everyone.
Yeah, he can't be making noises. He knows better. We live in an apartment.
Yeah. Just
his deep, like, you can...
Also, you...
What?
You burped and then you blew it at me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, at least when I have the decency of burping, I just musk in it.
It's like, it's a habit. Honestly, it's blowing away from me. You just happen to be in the line of fire, dude.
It's bullying. Oh my god.
What was I going to say about Apollo? Oh yeah. You can tell, like, because all huskies kind of sound the same.
Yeah.
Right. But he hasn't like really found his voice because he's grown up in apartments his whole life, so he knows not to like make a lot of noise.
Right.
So when he does make noise, he sounds like a hard of hearing person.
Yeah.
He's like, boo.
I think this is the first time I've heard Apollo make a sound ever.
Yeah. He doesn't bark or anything. He sniffs at the door aggressively.
Yeah.
There's someone there.
He like kind of got the prant, like the zoomy tip taps at me.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and I could tell he wanted to go hard, but he's also so polite. Like, meanwhile, Cora is trying to like slice my neck open.
Yeah.
Apollo's like, let's play. Oh, I'll back up. Play. Nope. I'll back up.
Yeah,
he's
very sweet. He's a sweet guy. Are you a sweet boy? Stay over there though. Anyway.
Also, I don't know if I'm emotionally ready for you to yell at me the entire podcast.
I'm not gonna yell.
Aggressively berate me.
It's not about you. We're going to have fun.
Okay.
We're going to have a fun time. I meant to pull up a story. I did all the research on that computer, and then I had to walk across the room to this one, and now I've lost my other tab, so we'll get there we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Right.
But I did want to tell you about my day-to-day, because usually we're on that gastrointestinal blockage train. Choo-choo.
Right.
This morning, I have a French press. That's how I make coffee, right? Mm-hmm. And what I've learned is like a French press can only handle one thing at a time. So if it's super piping hot boiling water, like you have to be so delicate with it. Mm-hmm. The slightest tap, it'll shatter. So that's what happened to me. So I've been like without coffee for a few days. Mm-hmm. Bianca gave me a French press, had coffee for the first time this morning, and I was at the bottom of the bag, like of coffee grounds.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw the whole thing in there. And it ended up being almost about like 2.5, 3 inches of coffee grounds. Like coffee at the bottom.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. So, but who cares? I had a delicious little oat milk vanilla creamer. Mm-hmm. Tasted like heaven. I've been fighting for my life.
You look like it, honestly.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Noelle has some of her bangs ponytailed in the middle of her head like a little unicorn horn, but then she also has like space buns on the back of her head, which have exploded in hair.
Yeah.
And then, but not all of her hair.
No.
Because if you're wondering where the rest of her hair is, it's not pulled up at all.
Yeah.
It's just tendrils. Yet you look like Jack Nicholson a little bit.
Thank
like
you.
with the hair, you know, he
So
always
good.
has like the
Jack
craziness.
Nicholson right now. Like like alcohol blow on a yacht eating a fucking foot long Jack Nicholson.
You look like you've been through it.
Yeah, I have been fighting for my life on the toilet today.
Yeah.
it has been touch and go, honestly.
That was my day yesterday, but since I'm in training, I just had to like turn off my video and mute myself and just...
You brought your lappy into the bathroom?
I'm in training. I gotta learn.
I hope you like Clorox wiped that thing down.
No,
Jesus.
I cleaned it with my mouth after.
Disgusting.
Yeah. No, but I was so scared to miss anything because you know I was like over an hour late on my first day.
Yeah,
That
Chelsea
was fun.
made a really good impression
I
by
made
not
great.
showing up, by not making an impression at all.
Yeah, just ghosted.
Yeah, man, it's been tough over here. It's been tough.
You know, I can feel your pain with the coffee though, but I've been so lazy that I've had coffee, but I've just Uber Eats a macchiato to my house every day this week.
Damn. So that's how the other side lives.
It adds up.
Yeah, no shit.
But here's the thing is I've tried to dial down the alcohol consumption that I'm doing. Just, you know,
You're evening it out.
for funsies.
Yeah.
But the vice of just needing to consume liquids that aren't water, I think is like now translating to coffee in the mornings.
Yeah, I mean,
I should take up smoking instead.
Yeah, you should.
I think it's
smoke
cheaper.
crack. I think it would be a cheaper alternative. For
Yeah.
You. I feel you though. Well, the days I didn't have my French press, dude, I would $9 every day because I'd get my special coffee and then I'd get a bagel.
Yeah. Well, so I went real far and I just signed up for Uber Eats for $9.99, but you get free delivery if you spend $15. So I've just been spending the $15, but like that
Jesus.
adds up. So I have like a matcha tea in my fridge right now, a cold one. I'm like, I'll drink it later.
Oh my, no, you're not. You're not. No one drinks coffee they put in the refrigerator.
No, it's
a lie.
matcha tea.
That we sell ourselves.
Yeah, probably. But also like when I get even just the slightest amount of stress or inconvenience, I'm
So
like,
every day. Yeah.
money.
I get that. I get
You
that.
know?
I feel that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I've got to fucking pump the brakes on the money spending.
Well, it's like new job, which I started late. Moving.
Well, I mean, you're going to be saving money here shortly, so
That's true.
between not having to commute and saving money on gas and saving money on rent, also you won't have to pay $300 for health insurance.
Yeah, that I signed up for literally fucking everything, and I'm at like $49 a month.
Literally.
I was like, add Aflac. Don't know what that is. Click, click, click. Added everything.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You added like life insurance.
Yeah, and I upped it. So my dad, if I die, my dad will be a very rich man. I upped it to the maximum that I could before I needed to get like clearance from a doctor.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Good. You know what? Good for you. I think that's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I die, my parents will be well off. And Kari, I gave her half.
Nice.
She's got to take care of these guys. That's the spiel. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Speaking of dying, I want to talk about something.
Yeah.
I want to say here now,
Okay.
despite what I personally feel, it has been quite difficult to find people who, how can I say this? Because like, okay.
Is this on topic?
Yeah, this is on
Okay.
topic. There's, as much as we want to believe for fun and religious people want us to believe, there aren't like real Satanists. There aren't like really people who like believe in a devil and worship the
Right.
devil. That's not real. Because that means they're playing the same game as Christianity, just like on the opposite side of the checkerboard. So finding people who were like taking Bible verses and like conveying it in ways to prove the point I'm trying to make was hard. Because
I-
if people are pulling from the Bible, they're pulling to prove why like religion is a fallacy.
Right. It's I could see that difficulty, like especially because I would even also say that like a lot of Christians can't even toe that line without feeling like they're committing blasphemy.
Yeah.
And so they just don't even fucking touch it or address it.
Like literally, it's such a weird to what I'm saying here in the shortest sentence possible is because I don't want to come at this from the point of an atheist.
Right.
Which is the argument you can find everywhere. I would be not pressed to say the easiest argument to find in the world, like about how religion is a pointless fallacy. But to find someone who believes in biblical text and then says, and this is why God is actually evil, like
slim pickings.
They don't exist.
You even binged it?
I binged it. And you know what happened? The only Christians who would take the line would turn it around and use it to talk about how God is so perfect.
Man, it's playing devil's advocate. Yeah, I've been thinking about this topic. I haven't done any research because I'm ready for you to take that
because
the convincing role.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right? You can just throw and hit a bullseye on a story that, and this is me not even being facetious, on a story that shows the horrors of God. That is not hard to do. But to
open the Bible.
Have you read it? Like, have you taken a little chapter flip? But to find someone who will use that and not say, and this is why there is no God, but to say, this is why there is God, and he is actually evil. Tough.
So to summarize, what we're talking about tonight is you are using biblical arguments to prove that God is actually the adversary and that Satan is actually the hero.
Yes.
It's like flippity flipping.
Flip flop.
Yeah, but most Satanists, I don't know, and this is like a misconception many people have, is Satanists don't believe in the religion. It's just a satirical thing that they've taken up to kind of be edgy.
Yeah. Because a literal Satan is just the perfect kind of like puppet master statue, spearhead visual campaign, because if you actually understand like modern day Satanism, you would also have to understand that is atheism with a cloak on.
Right. Yeah. It's a teenager getting a nose ring behind their parents' back.
Yeah.
It's just like being like, haha, fuck you. Like, this doesn't mean anything tangible.
Yeah.
But it's an actual representation of what we believe.
Because I do feel like, and like, we want to talk like Sam Harris and the Four Horsemen of the Atheist Apocalypse or whatever. You get to a point of atheism where you're so rational in your thought that you're like, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't believe, I don't care. I don't care what you do. I mean, like, that sucks for you that you live your life in the confines of religion, but, like, to each their own.
Right.
And I don't want to take, like, that point either. But, like, modern day Satanism is literally a step away from that, saying, like, yeah, we don't believe in God. We don't believe in a devil. But, symbolism is fun.
Yeah.
And so is ritual. That's what I genuinely love about, like, the Satanic Temple. And less of the Church of Satan, but, still kind of fun. I love ritual. Just like I love weddings, but I don't like marriage.
Right.
I like dress up.
It's the theater of it.
Yeah. It's
really.
it's the Shakespeare. So today I want to play a game. A game in which I participate in suspended belief and I choose to, on this day alone, believe that there is a God.
I mean, as someone who believes everything I've ever talked about on the podcast.
Yeah, someone who drinks their own Kool-Aid. Someone who makes it in one cup for themselves only.
And then gargles it to make sure I don't have fuzz blood.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see you take this role. I'm going to try to be as obstinate and shitty as possible.
As I hope you do.
And I'll give it the old college try, the old Christ try.
Yeah,
if
I need
you will.
you to, beat Jesus and give it a try.
Other than like burning you to death or like something really extreme.
I mean,
I'll just try to be witty in the moment.
okay. If not, feel free to crucify me, literally and metaphorically.
Okay.
Here we go. God, and let's just define a few things. God in monotheistic thought, it is conceived as the supreme being, creator, and principal object of faith. God is usually conceived of as being omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, and as well as having an eternal and necessary existence. If we were to summarize what Abrahamic religions say about God, just like off the top of my head, it would be forgiving, loving, caring, thoughtful, righteous, truthful, etc., etc. Feel free to add any other things you think of. What do you think of God?
Well, what I think of is like an old white man with a big beard.
Which is
Like
just geographically incorrect. So,
Well, God, we're not so sure. Jesus, geographically incorrect.
Yeah, true. I would like to think that, like, I don't know. Also, what smooth brain ideals that, like, God would look like us? We look like shit.
Well, also immediately derailing. My favorite depiction of like a quote unquote God that I've ever fucking seen in my life is that Futurama episode where it's like a galaxy or whatever and it can speak.
Yeah.
I loved that.
I
That was
think
like the
that's
cherry on top.
Yeah. As I die.
Well, you
Yeah, well, I
you want to know who that is?
brought God in my life. Which is the other fun thing I learned about God. Anyway, about death and God. Anyway. But I would like to propose this thought in this reality in which we all are choosing to believe in God right now today. What if God is evil? And what if he only wants to control and torment us? Very much like the kid with an anthill and a magnifying glass on a sunny day.
Just benevolently evil, omnipresently evil, or even complacent. Like, I don't care about ants. I don't think about ants.
Yeah,
Does it make me an asshole?
Yeah, I don't care. Maybe sometimes I'll come over and burn them alive. Just because it's like Tuesday and I'm bored.
And I have a magnifying glass. I just found it in my junk drawer.
Yeah, I just have fun. The backbreaking gymnastics religious folks have to partake in to explain away the horrors of the world while simultaneously defending God are impressive, objectively. A direct quote from a religious man online that got upset when people were talking about God being evil said, "If there is an ultimate moral standard of law or justice, then there must be an ultimate moral lawgiver. Without his moral law, we would not even know what evil really is." And to that I say, if you need God's smite to scare you into being a good person, you are not, in fact, a good person. Empathy is not religious. Empathy is not attached to religion. You can grow up completely atheist and still have empathy.
Yeah.
And know right from wrong.
Yeah, that's a very weird argument because it's like, if you have to have law, you have to have a lawgiver. And without a lawgiver, we wouldn't be aware of what's evil. But like, there's no evil in ignorance, right? Like, you can make the argument that like animals don't believe in God. I wouldn't define an animal as evil because they don't have like moral laws that they abide by. So
And that's
like
actually
a very weird argument, right?
Yeah, well, like that's like genuine Christian belief, and that's also bringing up the animals as a fun topic when you talk about religions, because there are Abrahamic religions, so like based in God and Jesus and Christianity, whatever, that struggle to define your pet's place in the world, like the Rainbow Bridge and a heaven for dogs. And all dogs go to heaven, the movie. Like, that doesn't have a place biblically, but like a lot of things don't really. But genuinely, because of the moral code conundrum, animals have a hard time filing in line with religious moral code.
Right. Well, it's like, what is soul? Do animals have soul? It becomes like an ultimate debate. They aren't aware of God, so they can't accept God into their lives, and that's how you're supposed to get into heaven.
It's the ultimate sin.
Yeah.
is not
Or it's knowing God and rejecting
is
him.
rejecting God, you know, and also like animals' relationships with, like if a lion kills a baby,
Yeah.
the lion doesn't know.
Right.
Fucking doing what it does. It's a fucking lion.
It's a soft long meat, man.
You know, like what, you know.
I'm not going to hate on someone for wanting that top shelf meat, you know?
I mean, it's interesting if you're to follow the book, the Bible,
Bible.
line by line, you know, man's best friend doesn't come to heaven with you. Sorry.
Yeah, I would have to. Yeah, that I would have a problem with.
And like that's just if we're reading the book, you know, because you'll have like cool, hip guitar playing, you know, Hollister shirt wearing pastors who are like, all dogs go to heaven, you know, but do they though?
I would say
morally,
yes. I think it would be immoral to not let a dog go to heaven.
But there's rules.
It's weird that this is a line that people draw on the sand where they're like, no, fuck you. It's
like,
very weird. I bet that guy doesn't believe that dogs go to heaven, and I wouldn't say he's a good person.
A lot of people who follow religious code to the book as it is told, because there are stories about people saying, like in the Bible, saying like, you know, I'm not sure about this God. Like, I'm not really like, you know, I'm not. And then they get immediately smited. So like ignoring him completely is the absolute ticket out.
Right.
Because even denying him, you can like get forgiven, but like to not give your life to and acknowledge existence, you know?
Yeah.
So it's fun. I think personally, I think it's like, I don't know. That's why I think religion is silly, because people choose it a la carte.
Yeah, 100%.
So anyway.
But you got to be arguing for religion now, though. It's a very double-edged sword for you tonight.
That's why I'm saying that God is evil, because God doesn't want everyone in. And God doesn't care about everyone.
Sorry, my boob really itches.
Scratch it. God doesn't want your dog to come in.
And this guy's making the argument that we need that or we won't know. We need that moral authority. Otherwise, we won't know what evil is, and we would unknowingly be committing evil. We'd just be dogs without horses running wild.
Yeah. That's the fun part of people who genuinely believe in religion, is that they truly think that if we did not have God defining moral standard and moral code, we would all just be murdering and raping and pillaging, even though the number one offender of all of those things is God himself in the Bible.
Ooh, I was going to say religious people.
And
you went one
people.
tier up. You swinging up today.
Oh, trust me. I've got receipts. So again, here, I want to lightly say the reason why your dog can't go to heaven is because God is evil. Just like the same exact reason why someone who is mentally incapacitated who can't worship God will also go to hell and rot forever.
Really having a hard time with you throwing dogs don't go to heaven at me. Like, I can handle a lot of things.
They don't.
I think they do.
Well, no, like I'm telling you biblically, they can't.
Where in the Bible does it say my dog can't go to heaven?
Because he can't accept God. He can't accept Christ
into
his life.
I don't speak. He doesn't speak English.
Exactly.
Just
like people who can't verbalize.
But also, they're in like a lower tier of creation in terms of like creative hierarchy. So what if these rules only apply to our hierarchy and then other hierarchies have less rules?
You can't distinguish the hierarchies of rules if the only rule is worship me as the one true and only God.
But I'm supposed to take care of the earth. And if I have earth things on there, they're exempt from the rules.
See, now you're making up your own rules, and making up your own rules goes against the word of God.
It's open to interpretation.
Is it? Because he gave you one rule to follow.
I refuse. You can tell me the most terrible things, but I refuse to believe that a dog would not go to heaven. Where in the Bible does it say they can't go to heaven?
They literally can't pass the basic rules to get into heaven.
Like what?
So they can't go, so they're not even considered.
What are even the rules? There's not rules. There's not like rules.
Who's knocking on my door?
It's not a country club. I don't know.
God?
Oh, you pissed him off.
Hey, fucker, sit down.
Well, they're going to be knocking for a while because this
No.
is a live show.
It's I think it's an Amazon package. Probably. Hey, lay down. I'm talking about God and how you guys aren't going to go to heaven.
No, you'll go to heaven.
No,
I'll
they
pray him
won't.
in.
They
I'll pray him in, Noel.
You can't.
I'll ask
can't.
someone who can.
You can't.
I
know that that's a tough pill for you to swallow.
It's huge. I just want to know where in the Bible. Where in the Bible does
Literally
it?
its entire existence.
No, it doesn't
Yes,
say
it
that.
does. Yes, it does.
I'm going to Google it.
Please do.
Hold on. I have to hold it with my double chin.
As I'm dying. It's like literally not everyone gets into heaven. That's the fucking point. That is what I'm saying. Listen to me when I speak and say, this is why God is evil.
Hold on. I'm still Googling it.
So, if God created man in his perfect image, or even further back, God created Adam and Eve.
Wait.
Oh my God.
We're still on the dog thing. Pope Francis says dogs go to heaven.
Okay, so you're telling me a pope
Fails to mention the Bible hates dogs.
Yeah. See? Remember how I said
But that's Catholicism.
Catholicism is an Abrahamic religion.
Wait, it says
It would be very easy for you to do why does the Bible hate dogs and get your fucking answer about
wait. So here's the
dogs-
question. Does the Bible say anything about dogs going to heaven? And this is just a quote. I don't know what it's from. Oh, it's from pethelpful.com. Kurowski said in his quote, Animals in Heaven, Pets in Paradise, end quote, Bible study. So do dogs, cats, debatable, horses and other pets go to heaven? While the Bible doesn't come straight out and say yes, it does imply through its discussion of the redemption of God's creation that our pets will greet us in the new heaven and new earth. That's the only
No.
That's the only time I would contest it.
Don't
because
don't make me do a part 2 where I pull exact quotes from the Bible and prove to you, because it has been
Pets.com.
a stretch. No.
Pets.com
It has been
said it.
a stretch since animals became domesticated members of the family that people who truly follow religious texts have had a conundrum of trying to figure out. That's why they have their own fucking heaven, because there's nothing biblically that brings them to us,
But-
following the moral codes and standards and
But
rules
heaven
of God.
should be a paradise where you get like everything you ever wanted. And my heaven is full of dogs.
That's not heaven though, because you're putting your own ideas of heaven. Remember, heaven is not your heaven, it is God's heaven.
But God's heaven is my heaven.
No, it's not.
Oh, man.
No, it's not.
Oh,
Remember
man.
when I said God is evil? Come on. Hi. I know that it's really tough right now for all of these
That's
realities to hit you.
The hardest pill to swallow. I still believe.
You're putting your own Luciferian selfishness in your own version of heaven. Do you
okay,
know
fine.
That's why God tried to say Satan was smited out of heaven, because he refused to bow
let
to
dogs in
humanity.
heaven?
No, he refused to bow to humanity because they said Lucifer was the most beautiful angel in all of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And his vanity refused. And this is the shit God peddles. I don't believe it
Yeah.
for 1 second. He's a bad guy. We'll get to that in a second, as we have been this whole time. Is that God's drama queen gossiping bitch said, like, Lucifer was so vain and obsessed with himself that he refused to kneel to the creation I made, which was perfect because it looked like me. And that's why the war in fucking heaven started. God is a petty gossiping bitch.
It's a spin room, baby.
You know what I mean?
It's a spin zone.
And because, like, also, could you imagine that? Could you imagine being the perfect, awesome creator of everything fantastic and be like, he just like couldn't handle that what I made was fucking perfect? Like, girl, sit down. Your acrylics are a little too long. I'll say it right now, God. But you're doing what God threw Satan out of heaven for. You're putting your own vain wants and personal needs and ideas in heaven. Heaven is not for you. It is for God. Don't fucking forget that. Dogs aren't allowed.
Well, then I'll just go to Burger King and have it my way.
There you go. That's where the real king is.
I don't like you aggressively clearing your throat at me either.
I don't think you're ready for the actual biblical facts that, because like me and my ex got into this debate because this is one of the most precious gems of atheism, is talking about how the God hates animals. Truly. Like how the Bible has nothing but proof that, like, you know, fart noises to dogs. It's incredible. And when you throw that in people's faces, oh boy, do they crumble, crack, and fall.
It hurts. Because the animal, like dogs, are so perfect, you know.
But they're not. That's why they can't go to heaven.
Do you have to be perfect to go to heaven?
You have to at least accept the one true and only God. So anyway.
Yeah, let's continue on. We got derailed a little bit about dogs. I continue to disagree. Dogs go to heaven.
I don't think you're ready for
They made a full movie about it.
Yeah.
You show me the movie that says no dogs go to heaven, and
you don't even need the movie. There's a whole book.
I'd rather just watch the movie.
So anyway, back to people.
Yep.
If God created man in his perfect image, or even further back, God created Adam and Eve in the sinless paradise made of God's perfect creation, how could they even have had the chance to talk to a snake or bite an apple? Sinless paradise, perfect creation, no flaws, made by God, the man, the dude, the man, the myth, the legend.
Satan hopped a fence, slithered in.
Why is it Satan? How is he so powerful? How is he more powerful than God's creation? You're telling me God can create humanity and people, but not keep a snake out?
I don't know. Was he not? Maybe he was looking away. Maybe he had
God's never
Zoom
not
call.
Looking. He's always watching.
Well, maybe
or
he was
is
curious
not because he doesn't care.
Maybe he was curious to see what
maybe
happened.
it's because he doesn't care at all.
Well, maybe he
Or
was a little
maybe
preoccupied.
It's with what? He sees everything and knows everything. He's worse than Santa Claus. Honestly, I think Santa is more, kind and generous and forgiving than Jesus or
so
God.
Are you making the argument that God let Satan in just to see what would happen for shits and giggles?
Yeah.
Or Satan, but if Satan is the good guy...
Satan was coming into the garden to warn Adam and Eve about God's wrath and God's hatred.
But he didn't say that. He talked about the apple.
Yeah, because he offered them truth. The lifting of the veil of God's ultimate
Would you rather
wrath.
be like naked in paradise or this?
It's the whole, would you rather be microchipped and, have your brain smoothed out and not have a single thought of your own? Because that's the thing, right? Do we want to say if God is the evil one and Satan came into the Garden of Eden, because what was the Garden of Eden other than God's play toys? He took away their ability of free will and autonomy, and he played Barbie with them. And then Satan came and said, you are being controlled, you are being lied to, you are being manipulated.
So Satan...
Take a bite of truth and see the torments of reality.
So Satan coming into the Garden of Eden, like God was aware of that and let it happen, or Satan knew how to sneak in without God knowing?
Well, I think it's in the middle. It's because God is not perfect and powerful and awesome, and he can't, because he's just an evil piece of shit. So because if God was as almighty and powerful and perfect, making us in the perfect image and creation of him.
Yeah, he would have put more meerkats in there.
Exactly. He would
kill the snake.
The snake wouldn't have been able to get in.
Also, do snakes exist in paradise? # debatable. Actually, maybe. I do like snakes. Maybe
Snakes
not
are fun.
spiders.
So, of course, the snake could come in. And the snake wanted to come in because what was the Garden of Eden other than, a kid shaving the hair off their Barbie's head? That's really what it was. Mm-hmm. And what did the bite of the apple do? It showed them reality, and it made God foam from the mouth. Truly.
Well, where does Lilith fit in? Because she apparently preceded Eve and wasn't perfect.
She was a scrapped model.
She was like a rough draft.
God is not perfect because he's just an evil son of a bitch.
And then, so where are we taking the argument right now, though, that God knew that God wasn't paying attention, and that's how Lucifer got into Eden?
Yeah, because he doesn't care.
Okay,
because he's not actually perfect.
I'm just following along.
Yeah, he's not actually perfect.
But inherently, so far, that isn't evil. It's just neglectful, uncaring.
What? God making humanity so that
but it's also like they were in a paradise, right?
Were they in paradise? Because the moment they just they didn't even commit sin. They took a bite of an apple.
Well, but up until that point, did they? My question is, would they have needed to be watched if they were in paradise? Here's the
ultimate question: would you rather live in "quote unquote" paradise, unawake and unaware, mindlessly droning to the commands of someone else? What is paradise?
But how were Adam and Eve being controlled before? They were just told not to do one thing, but they could do literally everything else.
There was nothing else. I mean,
Well, they were probably like boning and being naked.
No. But yes, the naked, not boning. Like, you have to...
They were for sure having sex.
This is the ultimate question of like, would you rather... It's autopilot or manual. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I feel
which is paradise? And some people would say paradise would just be being controlled on autopilot. Yeah. But other people go, the moment you took the bite from the apple, you actually saw the cruelties that God had created himself, because he was just numbing you to violence and to murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So say Satan came in and gave him like red pill.
Yeah.
And he was like, you can either just live in the Matrix or I'm going to unmatrix you.
It's literally the Matrix.
But then people also make the argument like, I want to go back to the Matrix. This is too fucking hard. And then there's people who are like, no, I want to fight. I want life to be gritty and miserable because I'm not
But here's the other thing.
Yeah.
If you hadn't have been red pilled, you wouldn't have even been able to have the capabilities to have that thought of choice. It's the autonomy that Satan gave, because looking at someone controlling another person for their own entertainment is wrong, and you don't need a god or a moral code given to you by religion to say that. You wouldn't even have the opportunity of choice if the apple was never bitten.
But that's also like falling in like an interesting philosophical tier, because like if a goldfish is in a bowl and it's well taken care of, maybe that's its paradise. Like it's not aware that like the domestic hotline is like filling up shelters and stuff. So like what really is paradise? But that's just getting into the philosophy of it. Yeah. You know, like,
I mean, if you want to get into the philosophy of it, we can cut it real quick and say, what are the capabilities of their mind?
Yeah.
What are the capabilities of their conscious thought?
I can see it from both sides. Paradise to me would be on a beach, not having to work, having all my needs taken care of, and I'm fine. But also having like my own sense of thought, my own sense of worth, like being able to make my own choices in such a sense where I could be evil piece of shit if I wanted to, you know?
And this is
because I'm sure Adam and Eve had enough choice up to the point before they could actually commit sin, right?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Like, you don't think that Adam could have just like took a huge shit and not wiped his butt and was stinky all day? Like, that's not really evil. It's just like, he doesn't know better. Or they're walking around naked all day. That offends my sensibilities in some places.
I mean,
but that's not really sin because they aren't aware that it's sinful.
Exactly. But I mean, like, here's the fun thing, though. Here's the fun thought. Any moment in your human life currently where you have had the opportunity of autonomy and choice, where you have had a redemption, you should not be thanking God for that. You should be thanking Satan for giving you the sensibility to see and choose and falter and rise, because if it was up to God, you would be a mindless drone plugged in to the Matrix.
But would I be a happy drone?
Is there happiness in lack of choice?
Is there happiness with choice, though?
Yeah.
I would make the argument that I'm still fairly miserable.
I mean, you have moments of happiness, even if brief and fleeting.
Yeah.
Never forget, happiness is not a constant state of being. It's a moment.
Yeah.
And to even have that moment, that's by autonomy and choice, which is something that God never wanted to give you ever, period. Why? Because he's evil. Remember what I said? So, direct quotes mixed in with verses from the Bible.
Oh, let's hear them.
But they rebelled against God in a deliberate and unprovoked act of disobedience and were expelled from paradise. They died spiritually the moment of their disobedience. I don't know how to say this Bible name. Ephesians 2:1. So literally saying how, again, remember, petty, spiteful, evil God. They did one thing wrong. They took a bite of an apple and were given the truth. And he said, that act of disobedience, you disobeyed me, God. You're done. You are dead spiritually. You're kicked out of paradise. And not just dead spiritually, dead physically. Death is the punishment of God. Genuinely, from the Bible.
Also, like getting our periods
I mean, of course.
sucks.
And eventually they died physically. Quote, therefore, just as though one man's sin entered the world and death through sin, and thus sin spread to all men because all sinned. Romans 5:12. So death
It's our punishment.
is punishment for what?
Death is
For what?
punishment for what Satan made possible through choice.
What was that choice? What was the choice? The choice to what? The choice to
Yeah.
actually have the choice of the Wizard of Oz to have the fucking veil pulled back and see that it's a guy with a fucking
Yeah.
microphone screaming orders at you. And he gave you what? He gave you sin. He gave you death. He gave you punishment. He gave you banishment because you dared to say, wait a second. What? And God is so spiteful and so hateful and rageful that he didn't just let that stop with them.
But you know,
He allowed humanity for forever, his perfect creation.
when you like
Suffer
really
and die.
fucking hate someone, where you really fucking
Yeah.
hate them, and all of your friends know, and you're like, I need you guys on my side,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, that's my one rule. You could run your car through the front of my fucking house, and I would just, we're cool, we're chill. But then that person goes and they like sends them a friend request on Facebook.
Sure.
And you're like, I told you not to do that one fucking thing.
Sure.
Everything else was fine.
Sure.
I am going to be a petty bitch about it. Have you ever been a petty bitch about something really small for
I've always
forever?
been a petty bitch forever, but even the pettiest of bitches, who I would say is like Mother Teresa, evil incarnate, has shown more empathy and grace and kindness than God. And that's the other thought.
But how would you know?
I mean, by sheer existence, by opening a door for someone is showing more grace and kindness and forgiveness than God showed Adam and Eve and all of humanity.
What if the wind blew a door open for you one day?
Then the wind shows more
What if it's
grace
God's
and
wind?
It's never God's wind. Like, that's the other.
Very gassy, by the way. I'm sorry.
Oh my God! Speaking of wind,
Yeah, I know. That's why I started laughing as you said it. I was like, "It's God's wind," and you said it's never God's wind, and you're just like,
yeah, it's your butthole wind.
No, it's God speaking to me through my colon.
I could tell that would be something God would do because he's an evil son of a bitch.
You know, my tummy feels better though.
Good. I'm glad you relieved that.
Thank you.
But that's the other fun thing. If God is the just creator of goodness and kindness, why would he damn eternity and humanity for
So
forever?
that one fucking thing, pettiness, man.
Then he's not a perfect and all-powerful and all-knowing and all-graceful and
Maybe
all-kind God.
I stopped being friends with someone because they said Hydra Cap was the best cap, and I yelled at him, and then I unfriended him on Facebook, and they thought I was joking. Dead to me. I have one rule, one fucking rule. You cross it, dead to me.
Yeah.
Well, one rule with a lot of different things, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can see that's like how
Yeah,
I could
and
see
God
it.
had his one rule that
And it was
dogs
like-
aren't allowed into heaven.
No, it was no. But I could see I could see being that petty. Where I'm like, I had one fucking rule.
No.
This guy jaded me. He hurt my fucking feelings.
No
and
way.
now you let
Never.
him into my paradise.
No.
And you just start fucking hanging out with him.
No
There's
way.
girl code. Girl code.
It wasn't that Satan came into paradise because he got in. It's the fact that they chose choice.
yeah. But
And he said, not in my sandbox, and then gave humanity death and suffering and famine and pestilence and war and pain.
I mean, those are just the side effects of Satan's gift.
No, those were the effects of
They
reality that were
what if
always
Satan
there.
knew that they always existed and he was trying to see what would happen of people to suffer? Like that was like the flippity flip. You can't create a paradise without like the seedy underbelly.
There is no flippity flip because God created all of this. So then you would have to say that God inherently creates bad and evil on purpose because he's a bad guy.
Well, then it's also you have to get in like, why is evil bad? Like we just define it. What if in like is a little kid who stomps on ants evil? No,
Yeah.
it's just like kind of what little kids do sometimes because they don't understand death.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
But I see where you're going with it. You can make shit perfect if you want. Why not make it perfect? Like Fuck, dude.
People,
I'll give you my allowance. I'll pay my tithing. Just I don't want to hurt anymore.
yeah, exactly. But he
Like, why
chooses
can't I
not
have
to
it?
because
Yeah.
God gives you suffering on purpose.
I have always been very resentful of. Because have I not suffered enough?
Never. Death is your
Yeah,
punishment.
no.
You were born to suffer.
Yep, born
You were
to die,
born
baby.
to suffer. So, there's a term in religious history, not just Abrahamic religions, called divine retribution, which is supernatural punishment of a person, a group of people, or everyone by a deity in response to some action. Many cultures have a story about how a deity exacted punishment upon previous inhabitants of their land, causing their doom. You know,
The Great Flood,
You
the
know,
famines, things
literally
like that sound fun.
insert the entirety of the Bible. So here are some fun examples of our God, our good old friend God, the capital G-O-D, the guy upstairs.
Just to preface, we're going off all Old Testament stuff, right?
Yeah.
Look at the books here. Yeah. From what I saw.
Exodus, Leviticus. So
Yeah, Leviticus is the fun one people like to use to be bigots a lot.
yeah. Again, a la carte.
A la carte.
A la carte, baby. So here we go. Let's throw it back to the number one, someone who puts John Wayne Gacy to shame. God. Here are some crimes for which God has prescribed death penalty. Sacrificing to a god other than Yahweh, which is like,
That's the
yeah, that's what they call him. That's his nickname. Exodus 22:20. Persistent rebelliousness on the part of a child.
well.
So all kids are dead.
I don't even have a kid, but I'm already sick of them being obstinate.
All these kids are dead. A child who hits or curses his or her parents, which is from
would've been
Exodus,
You would have been dead for sure.
would've.
I don't know if you hit your parents, but you were swearing at them for show.
Absolutely. I cursed at everyone. I'll curse at everyone's parents. Working on the Sabbath, obviously. R.I.P. everyone. The only people surviving so far are Chick-fil-A workers. Premarital sexual intercourse.
Whoops.
We're all going to die. And the requirement for a priest to burn his daughter alive if she becomes a prostitute. Leviticus 21:9.
Yeah, that's not fun.
But he's a just guy. He's super kind. He's really forgiving.
Dude, Old Testament God. There's been an argument too that like the difference between the gods between Old Testament and New Testament is like there's also a conspiracy theory about that there's more than one God and Old Testament God is different than New Testament
I think
God.
that Old Testament God is God because he's the one who created us and everything about us and the rules and the divine and blah, blah, blah. And Jesus in the New Testament is nothing but a PR campaign to get everyone back on board because literacy became a thing.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah. Maybe it was like, oh man, I was like, this was
And that's when the
fucked up.
real fucking smear campaign against Satan, who has always been number one advocate for humanity, trying to save us all from the evil doer and creator.
I'm still a little sore about him helping us open the Pandora's box of suffering, honestly.
You shouldn't be.
Like...
But here's the thing. God's the one who gave you the suffering. It would have just been Pandora's box of choice and happiness and truthfulness. But God is the one who brought suffering and death upon you. Don't get it twisted. Don't blame Satan for God's punishment.
But we don't know what Satan didn't bring to the table.
Satan brought choice and autonomy and truth.
Where does it say that in the Bible?
Literally the moment that Eve took the bite of the apple. The punishment of suffering and pain and death. Literally
was
from
knowledge.
the text.
And shame with our bodies.
Like literally that was God's punishment. Don't blame Satan for what God did to you.
But what if Satan's also petty and he's like, I'm going to fuck around with people a little bit too?
No, Satan.
Because that's his own choice.
Yeah, because
He would be a hypocrite and not doing his own
Satan
choice.
has always been the one who was like, hey, what you're doing is fucked up.
Wasn't Satan the one who wanted to force people to bow to God? And God was like, no, they should have a choice. And that's what started the war in heaven.
God says you have to bow to me.
I feel like I heard it the opposite way.
Sounds like you're on like the pro God PR list, which is not true.
I might be on it.
If you don't worship God, like Old Testament God will just burn you alive. Like the king, there's a king, I'm blanking out his name. And he was like, I don't know about this God. He was burned alive. So, like, that's a rule.
Also, Same. I haven't heard anything different from Chick-fil-A so far. That's probably why their chicken is so delicious. I haven't had it in ages, obviously, because I'm not eating meat anymore. But even before that, because
they hate
they're
gays.
fucking reprehensible, and
Yeah.
I refuse to support their business practice.
They hate the gays, which is probably why they're going to be the only ones to go to heaven if it is real, because that's where the evil people go. God.
Well, you're hurting my arm.
Here's some more fun facts about God's anger and wrath in punishment of his people. In 2 Samuel 24, King David decided to take a census of the men of fighting age. The prophet, I don't even know how to say his name, Gad? G-A-D? Gad. He's like from Boston. He's a Gad. Was sent to David to announce God's displeasure with the taking of the census. The punishment for David's sin, which again was census taking, which is apparently
No census taking was
taking is a
sinful.
big sin.
That's the first time I've heard census taking.
The Lord sent a pestilence on Israel from that morning until the appointed time, and 70,000 Israelites died.
Pestilence, isn't that's like illness, right?
Death.
Dang, what if we have
God killed
pestilence right now?
70,000 people because there was a census.
Oh my God, when did COVID hit? Was it right around the time of the census?
I know that they did a census while COVID was happening.
Oh my God. Dude, fucking census did it.
I know.
Census is the real evil.
Census is like, hey, we just want to see how many people are in the city so we can try to get more funding to prevent homelessness and poverty and hunger.
That's the census is the Jesus of the government. That's their PR campaign.
No way.
It's been the fucking census all
The
along.
census is like, hey, we know that like war and famine and sickness and death has taken over. We just want to see how many people there are so we can crunch some numbers, see how we can help you. And God's like, not on my fucking watch.
And the census fucking knows it.
Not on
They've been
my
warned
watch.
since the beginning of time. Oven hot, they keep touching.
How dare you try to help the people that I created to with your suffering.
Have equal representation
Yeah.
and make sure gerrymandering
How
doesn't happen.
Dare you? That's what God said. God said, how dare you try to prevent my suffering and wrath? Get in my way? 70,000 people die. Hashtag.
What if the 70,000 people were assholes?
Numbers wise, it doesn't add up.
It does add up.
It does
I
not.
believe that there are 70,000 assholes in this city right now.
There are 70,000 assholes, period.
Like I could throw a rock and hit.
Period. Like in general. But like we're
this
all
city
70,000 there?
I don't know.
That's not just
I don't know. I wasn't there.
numbers
Noel.
aren't. Well, no one is anymore because they all died because the census was taken and God didn't
Unless
like
there's reincarnation, which is also
it. Reincarnation doesn't happen in Christianity. Get your shit straight. You start
You're right.
talking about reincarnation, you're going to get thrown out of heaven. But honestly, why would you want to go? It's a terrible place.
I'd go if there's dogs there.
There's no dogs in heaven. But
There
maybe-
are dogs in heaven. God damn it, Noel.
Not.
Oh, wait, let me give my Chrissy Crossies. I'm not allowed to say that.
If you want to live in God's heaven, the dogs are not allowed. Get it straight.
I want to see the receipts.
Okay, let's get a Bible. I don't have one here. I don't want to bring,
I was about to be so surprised.
I don't want to bring that evil into my house.
I'm gonna gift you my graphic novel Bible.
I don't need it. I don't need that type
I
of
haven't flipped
hatred.
through it
Okay,
yet, but I want to see how it like handles some things, like the testier, seedier subjects.
You mean the entirety? How it handles the entirety?
Like, does it show? What does it show?
Does it show Sodom and Gomorrah? Does it show Job getting like fucking beat the shit out of? Just so you could be like, God, you're so awesome. Thanks for like almost killing me and murdering my family so I could just see how much I love you. That's hella tight. It's legit what happened.
Or like the mustard seed parable.
Because again, God is an asshole. And last but not least, God's command to the Israelites to commit genocide. You know one thing God and Hitler had in common?
Smiting.
Killing Jews.
Oh. But
God and Hitler have more in common than you have with God. And that's a good thing because God's a piece of shit.
so I'm interested to find the different resources of people who like believe in these religions but have it like flipped. Are there like, what do? Do they go to a church, or
What do you mean?
like how did these people who buy into this hook, line, and sinker worship?
Fear.
No, the people on Satan's side. How do they worship?
Oh, people who believe that Satan is the good guy?
Yeah. Do they even get to worship, or are they just having like philosophical arguments?
I don't think they get to worship. I think they just have philosophical arguments. I think if you believe that there is a literal Satan and God, and you believe that literal Satan is actually the good guy and God is actually the bad guy.
Yeah, where do you go once you have that?
I'm not sure. At my
heart?
house, I'll invite you in. Let's talk.
But you don't believe in God or Satan.
I believe more so. I don't. But if I was to choose, I'm going with them. Absolutely.
It's just like a super interesting thing because like I've never, you obviously would be like, oh yeah, it makes sense people would exist.
So the evidence,
but it's like, where do they go?
It stacks up. I'm not sure.
Or how do they
well,
worship?
You know what? If they truly believe in Satan and his teachings and that Satan is the good guy, and if they know anything about Christianity, which is the true form of evil, then they would never even create an organized religion because they know that all power corrupts absolutely. And they don't want to bring that type of Christian evil into their lives. So they don't want to organize in such a way that people could be taken advantage of.
I guess that makes sense because they wouldn't want their religious practices to mimic what they hate.
Exactly.
So they'd have... But still, like, there has to be some way for them to, like, congregate, even if not, like, physically together, but even, like, a blog post where people can go
even
and
a
share.
blog post. But even think about this. Like, if you're to base your entire belief system on the fact that Satan is actually the true good guy, and everything that God does and Christians do in his name is, like, pure incarnate forms of evil, which I would agree. You know what I mean? You don't need organization. Because to know in your heart of hearts the truth, that's the ultimate form of worship. You don't have to go and beg to be acknowledged and forgive. I feel like the true, if we're going to call this like the true version of Satanism, you don't ask for forgiveness or approval of the God you don't believe in because you don't think he's right.
Yeah.
So if you're to be a true, what we're now calling biblical Satanist, then your form of religion is just being good in spite of God.
Yeah.
Being kind and morally just and forgiving and gracious.
I guess there are also like, there has to be like Satanists who believe in this and still follow like Levian Satanism or what have you, just for a sense of the ritual, like what you were talking about. Like they may, when people are like, oh, Satan isn't real, they maybe just eschew that part and continue on their merry way.
Yeah. I think truly, like if you believed in this version of like biblical truth, then you are doing everything you can to be the best person without aligning to anything, because the moment you align, you're like getting in line with what a Christian God wants you to do.
It'd be interesting to hear from someone who believes this route, because all the Satanists that I've met have been like, no, that's just a term.
Atheists.
Like, I'm atheist.
They're atheists with a cloak on.
Yeah. So I want to hear like the flippity flip, because I think you did a good job of representing it, but it's always going to be different than somebody who's like in the shit, you know?
Sure. I mean, here's the thing, which is so fun, which is why I think like God has the best PR campaign always, because there has been nothing but proof of like God's wrath and evil and torture, truly. And to think that there hasn't been someone who like literally took all that and rewrote it as like, here's why we should like
yeah, you could cut and paste.
Yeah, like this is why God's a piece of shit asshole. You know, that's kind of fun. Maybe someone has, but the other thing is probably if we're going to say like, you know, another numbers game, there probably for sure has been, but the power that is organized Abrahamic religions is obvious, has been controlling everything, existence, history, art, language, literature since, we started living in cities. So I have a feeling if you were coming up with that shit, you got squashed pretty fucking fast and hard.
Yeah.
Who's to even say, if we want to play devil's avocado here, which is my favorite type of avocado toast, who's to say shit like the Skull and Bones Club isn't this?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I'd argue those guys are like really probably fucking evil. I mean, but they do everything in the name of like what? Religion? Like,
I mean, I don't know. Maybe these organizations, groups, whatever, that have been dragged through the mud are really just people being like, hey, did you ever think an all just and knowing and gracious God who made us in a perfect image wouldn't commit genocide?
It would also be interesting to hear about people who believe in on the flippity flip Satanism for evil and see how that aligns with their religious beliefs.
Yeah.
Because
well, here's the other thing.
Atheists with a cloak on, harmless. But Satanists with fucking eyebrows drawn on,
people who take a Sharpie and draw on their eyebrows and really do believe. But here's the other fun thing about that I would, everything we know about Satan has been through the Word of God,
the Bible,
who has done nothing but in actual text and representation and example proven to us how he is a shiesty motherfucker.
The victor writes the history, right?
Yeah, exactly. So,
that is an interesting concept.
It's almost fun to think that people who believe in a literal evil Satan, who want to worship Satan for evil, are genuinely the most cosplay soft boy bodies because they're begging for evil from the most kind, gracious version of the person in the Bible.
The thing I like to hear the most is when the theories that God and Satan really don't dislike each other at all. It's more of a Zeus Hades relationship where it's oh shit, this is this shit's happening. You just got to be the guy to manage it. We cool. We'll have our manager meeting once a month. Fist bump. Good. Or even where they're friends. I think, I don't know. I always like to go back to Supernatural and how all the shit ties in. But I think that was a really good representation of religion where it's just mostly pawns in a different scheme of maybe pettiness.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if anything, you can agree that God is petty.
Well, I'm also petty, but I am not God.
Exactly.
I'm going to say something that I don't want it to hurt your feelings.
What are you going to say?
Your conspiracy theory, not as fun as the Tower of Babel being a weapon of mass destruction.
It's not as fun.
Mine had nothing to do
It's not
with
as
dogs.
fun because it is painfully true.
It hurts.
Because nothing I took was conspiracy. It was just what the Bible gave me. I only used what the gods gave me, or what the God gave me.
Man.
And I would like to end right after which I honestly put it on a shirt. Hitler has more in common with God than you do. This is from a sermon.
Controversial.
Right? I mean, controversial, but true.
From a sermon. Ooh, let's hear it.
Wisdom Displayed in Salvation is the name of the sermon. In the war in heaven, where Satan and his angels rebelled against God and proudly presumed to try their strength with his, and when God, by his almighty power, overcame the strength of Satan and sent him like lightning from heaven to hell with his army. Was Satan the personification of evil, or the only angel who saw God's true wrath and destruction and brought war to heaven to try to save us?
That's insane. That was from
I added the last bit, but the beginning was from a sermon talking about how righteous God was for smiting Satan down to hell. Why, So.
It's like a little dreidel. Never know which way it's going to spin.
So, the ultimate question I propose.
Yeah. Who's really fighting for us?
I mean,
if anyone.
I mean. So,
but you're shrugging too much, girl.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my not so conspiracy, completely based in fact. God is actually evil.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of Bible stuff lately.
Yeah.
Our campaign, our billboard campaign is going to go live pending art approval. And people are going to jump on and they're going to think this is a religious. They're going to be like, oh, a podcast for deviants and nerds. Mm-hmm. Talk about the Bible.
Deviants and nerds. Honestly, what is more nerdy than the Bible and what is more deviant than challenging it?
You're right.
Where Chelsea and Noel go to hell. Baby, I've been there. I made it up. Take me, because I definitely don't want to fucking go to heaven.
So, I mean, I want to go where the dogs are.
It's hell, baby.
I don't know. Rolling the dice.
I don't.
Noel's apartment for sure.
Yeah. Let them all in here. But I'm also the gates of hell. Most Christians would agree. So
I think, in my opinion, from what I was raised on in church, that people who are scared of Satan or scared of like the devil and evil or like lesbians and things like that are
my favorite line.
Yeah.
Devil, evils, lesbians,
things like that. I could say lesbians because I dated a woman. You know, so it's like I could say that.
Yeah. You've eaten pussy, so you're for sure going
it's
to
fine.
hell.
But like to be scared of things like that just makes you a coward.
For sure.
So that's why it's like sitting here listening to this, shooting the shit. Also, like our nativity scene growing up in church had a person of color as Jesus in the manger. So that's never been a fucking weird thing to me.
As it should.
And then I feel like I was lucky to be raised in a religion that wasn't based off fear. So I think that's like a lot of the times where I'm like, I don't know, I feel fine with stuff.
But it would be, you know, people who are very religious would be, has to say.
Well,
that's not really like.
People who are very religious, I think, are the a la carte type people, you know? Like the most religious people that I hear are usually like these mega corporations who are foaming at the fucking mouth, and I'm like, that's evil to me. Being like $1 billion church, that evil.
Yeah,
I think you and I here shooting the shit form a gospel, really.
I agree completely.
So,
but here's the other fun thing is like if God was really like almighty and powerful and whatever, why would he allow these big mega churches to,
because,
you know,
choice now, I guess. That's what it always comes back down to, that, right? Like that's like the Band-Aid fix-all whenever this argument comes up in religion. And it always seems like hashtag cop-out. Like, oh, well, we have choice now, or suffering.
Well,
like,
it is a hashtag cop out because everything bad was purposefully planted here, grown from the seed that God put to punish you. Period.
If you believe in Calvinistic religions, where everything has been decided from the dawn of time, which is only certain Christian religions,
not even that, but to be like, God gave you sin and suffering and death as punishment for what happened in the Garden of Eve.
Gives these backsies. Yeah, take it back now.
He never said takes these backsies.
It would be cool if he did, though. Be real cool if he
said,
did.
I'm only going to make it worse. I'm going to make child porn instead.
Oh, God. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Law and Order SVU. Elliot Stabler's a babe. But yeah, that's what I've been filling my time with. I'm just...
Law and Order SVU. Back to fucking Anton LaVey and, you know...
Yeah, I think about that every time I look at Mariska Haggerty. I'm like, you were in the car that decapitated your mom. Well, scalped your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. R.I.P.
Dog didn't survive that one. And I think about it. That lives rent-free in my mind. Why did the documentary have to put that in there? Just bam. It had all this other weird shit that I could tolerate, like the weird interpretive dancing in between every other scene, where I was like, what is this? I have to like put my arm over my phone at work because I was watching it at my desk. And then
Jane Mansfield, true legend.
Yeah.
Never forget. Well, you know, it should haunt you because that dog didn't go to heaven, so.
I'd like to think it did.
It didn't.
In my religion, it did.
Well, your religion goes against the religion of God, so you're not going anyway. Most importantly,
rude as hell.
Most importantly, most certainly, and especially today, in the version of reality where I truly believe in a literal God and Satan, I want to say shouts out, always hail to my guy, my number one, always looking out for me, down to have fun, Lucifer, Satan, Beelzebub, whatever you want to call him. You can call him my guy. Hail Satan.
I'm going to be real controversial. Hail all the dogs in heaven.
Hail all the dogs that are not in heaven because dogs.
No, well, you don't get last word on this one.
I don't get last word. God did, and he said dogs can't go to heaven.